Just a little bit before I start, I want to let you know is that this is my 5th year as Superintendent of Penfield Central Schools, but I've lived in Penfield since 2009. I started working as an assistant principal in the high school. I came from another district, not to be named, and moved here, and after about a month I went home to my wife and at that point our baby and said, we need to move to Penfield. Even the bad kids are really good. And so we quickly started looking for a house, found a beautiful home in Penfield, and had our second child, and now I have a 6th grader and a 5th grader. And we also, right now, have temporary custody of my 5-month-old nephew, who we hope to have full custody of one day, and we're helping out there. So we thought we were done. My wife found a loophole, and we've got another one at home, and we're having a great time. So if you'll see my coffee, I always have a cup in my hand. If I start to doze off, it's because we're going through a little bit of a sleep issue at home with our little guy. So just a quick presentation. One of the things that's really unique to the Penfield Central Schools is that our Board of Education, all volunteers, has been incredibly understanding and helpful in keeping the goals the same every year, or very similar. And so everything we do in Penfield always ties back to 3 goals. One is academic achievement and excellence, but in there is a conversation and a concept around the development of the whole student. And what we mean by that is it's not just about academics, it's not just about test scores, it's about the fact that every child brings with them sort of an invisible backpack of their own social and emotional needs. And so we really are on a journey to find that balance between strong academic rigor and supporting students in becoming excellent citizens, understanding themselves and understanding others. And I stand by that. I'll always say I think I go toe-to-toe. We've got the best district around. I know it's like the Hair Club for Men because my kids also go here, so I'm the president but also a member. But that focus on not just academics but the whole child, the whole student, is really incredible. The other 2 goals are around partnerships, which is part of my presentation is going to be asking, as business owners and folks connected to Penfield businesses, looking for some partnerships moving forward to support our students. And then everything we do is around fiscal responsibility. We never want to make a cut that's going to impact students, so we get, with the New York State tax cap and all of the fiscal responsibility issues we deal with, we're always going to try to go out with a budget that does best for kids but also supports our community. So just a couple of things about the Penfield Central School District, in case you didn't know, is all 4 of our elementary schools year after year have been ranked out of the top 14 school districts in the Rochester area. So our 4 elementary schools are all within the top 14 out of 163 schools. Our Bay Trail Middle School is ranked 3rd out of 95 middle schools, and Penfield High School is named to the Newsweek magazine's list of America's Best High Schools every year. The Penfield Central School District ranked 4th out of 67 area school districts in 2017 based on 4 years of test scores. One of the things I always point out to parents and the community is all of these rankings, because the only way to do rankings like this nationally is to tie it to test scores. And so yes, we're really proud of our test scores, we're proud of our students, we're proud of the hard work they put in, but I'll stand here as superintendent, parent, and community member and say it's not just about test scores, it's about what else we're doing to support students as they move towards graduation. And so our graduation rate is approximately 97% to the state average of 80%. 91% of our graduates continue on to college. 96 earned a Regents diploma, and 74% earn an advanced designation. If you haven't been in high school in a while and you haven't seen a high school diploma lately, it sort of is beginning to look like a NASCAR, because there's a million different stickers that the state gives you to put on. So science achievement, math achievement, STEM achievement, and it's really amazing that kids aren't just graduating from Penfield, but they're graduating with amazing honors and awards. And then our SAT scores exceed the state mean. For New York State, it's a 1057, and in Penfield, it's a 1220. I always like to point out that we do not do explicit SAT prep in our classrooms. We talk about really this holistic view of great education, not learning how to take a test, whether it be a Regents exam, a state required test, or the SAT. So it's really just exceptional work of our teachers, our staff, our students, and our parents that continues to make us really building a bright future in Penfield. AP Scholars, we had just last year 127 students and grads who were named AP Scholars, including 8 National Scholars. We, year after year, have been named a best community for music education. And our Science Olympiad, which again is just an amazing team of academic students, earned last year, the high school team earned 40 medals at regionals and 6 at state. And Bay Trail earned 30 medals at regionals and 2 at states. My son's a 6th grader. He is so excited to be on the Science Olympiad team. So I told him that these numbers have to be higher next year because he's on the team. So no pressure in my house. Athletics, we do an incredible job with athletics. Boys volleyball, wrestling state champions last year, numerous county and sectional champions. And something that I am a little proud of, if you watched the news recently, is that Penfield School District was named Most School Spirit. We got just about 50% of the total vote, and it was really, really great. A little bit about student enrollment, and this, Tony and I talk a lot as well, because if you do live in Penfield, please know that it is a desirable place to live. And it's because of the town, it's because of the opportunities, the businesses, and the school district working together. So I found this slide I just want to show you. So way back in 2012, we do lots of projections, because trying to figure out student enrollment is a little bit of rolling the dice, although our business official who couldn't be here today, Dr. Sansucci, does an incredible job. But back in 2012, we projected that we would have K-12 about 4,382 students. In 2017, the actual number was 4,539. And it's because developments are being built in Penfield, people are moving into Penfield. If you want to buy a house in Penfield, I wish you the very best luck, but they're rolling over really, really fast. And it's because it's a great place to live, thanks to everything that you do, and thanks to our incredible staff, great schools, great community. And again, I absolutely love this place. I didn't grow up in this area. I grew up outside of Saratoga Springs, and this is my forever home. I've told the board I will be your superintendent for as long as you want me, and when you don't want me anymore, I will be the most powerful parent in the school district, because my kids are graduating from Penfield Central Schools. I'm not leaving. It's an incredible place. So we know we have some enrollment growth, I don't want to use the word issues, but sort of some situation taking place where more and more people are moving in. Our enrollment, we believe, is going to grow about 1%. That's 42 students for this school year and next school year. Our growth is really concentrated at the elementary schools. The middle school, the high school are staying about the same for now, but we're having a huge influx of families moving in with young children, which is wonderful as a school superintendent. And our enrollment, we believe, is going to grow about 6% over the next 5 years. So thank you to anybody who lives in Penfield if you did vote for our school budget last year, and thank you if you voted yes for our capital project, because we will be breaking ground as soon as we get New York State approval for our architectural plans for adding 12 new classrooms to 3 of our elementary schools. So 4 elementary classrooms at Cobbles, 4 at Scribner, and 4 at Indian Landing, because we really are at a point where there's no more room at those 3 schools. And we need to find a spot, obviously, to educate our students that's not a closet. So we do need classrooms, and we're looking forward to those. A little bit about facilities as I talk about what we're adding, and I sort of thought for this presentation I wanted to give you a little bit of a 10,000-foot view of Penfield. I'm amazed by these. So we currently, as the Penfield Central School District, utilize 154 acres of land with our schools, our fields, and our facilities. We have about 900,000 square feet of building space. And we talk about it sort of like running a small city, we feel like, how large, if you look at all of our space in Penfield Central School District. So if we look using insurance, and some of you in here work in that field, if we use our estimated replacement cost, if we have to replace all of our buildings that we currently have, it's about $172 million. And if the average life expectancy of our infrastructure is around 30 years, that equates to about $5–6 million a year in renovation costs each year. What that means is we typically look at doing a capital project every year. There are school districts across the state that wait until it's an issue. And then all of a sudden you have to go out with $60–70 million capital projects to fix things. And what we try to do is save cash and reserves and pay as much as we can in cash, which the impact of that is no impact or low impact to the taxpayer living in Penfield. So we try to be very fiscally responsible, save, and then spend that money in order to do capital projects without an impact to our taxpayers. Roofing is amazing. I just replaced my roof in Penfield not that long ago. I thought that was a big job. We have around 680,000 square feet of roofs in our district. And our roofing systems that we install, they have a 20-year warranty. If we replaced our roofing systems every 20 years, we'd have an average replacement of about 34,000 square feet a year, and just construction costs we're pushing almost $1 million. And we talk about this because many people will say when they vote for Penfield budget, you're always buying buses and you're always replacing roofs. And the reason is, if we don't do it on a process and do a few a year, we'll get to a point where we need to replace 680,000 square feet of roofing and 100 buses all in one tax year, and nobody wants that. And so we try to do this budget to do a few every year to make sure that we're staying on top of it. We have an incredible partnership with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and they did some drone photos, and so these are brand new, hot off the press, but I absolutely love them. This is the high school, and you can just see how vast that building is, the parking lots and the fields. And this is the same building, but from the south view, and just absolutely love these photos, or the screensaver on my computer at work, just to show how large and beautiful that is. And right up top, if you go all the way up to the top, is obviously our town and our community center and our library as well. So it's just a great piece just here. That's just the high school. Talk a little bit about future capital projects. I talked about how we are always looking every year to do a smaller capital project. So some things we do need to look at that you'll hear about in our community is we have a synthetic turf field. It is at a point where they need to be replaced. I don't know if you own homes, but you know, it's a 15-year warranty, and we're running into our 10th year, and it needs to be replaced pretty soon. So what I've learned is 15-year warranties don't mean they're going to last for 15 years. I just replaced my pool liner, and when I went in, I said, I just replaced it. And he said, yeah, you replaced it 7 years ago. I said, how long does it last? He goes, this warranty, it typically has a lifespan of 7 to 10 years. And that's our life in my house. So if it ends in 7 years, it's done in 6 or 7. So we will be looking at replacing that, resurfacing our track, which gets incredible use, not just from our school students, but also the town and community, the Penfield rec program. Lots of programs use our fields. We are paid for by tax dollars, and we want to encourage people to use our fields in lots of different ways. We're, of course, going to be looking at roof replacements. We do have to look at a replacement of a chiller at Cobbles. We're currently in the process now of replacing the chiller at the high school. And I have some things on the bottom, which are, these are the things that keep me up at night as a superintendent, which is we need a bus garage. We need a building to ground facility. If you ever have some time on your hands, drive down 5 Mile Line, and you can see our beautiful facility. When I say beautiful, it was beautiful in 1962 when it was built, and it looks pretty much the same then. It serves a purpose. It does what it needs to do. But we're getting to a point as we continue to grow, we need to find a spot for a transportation facility, and we're working on that. And other needs, obviously, we don't know what comes up, but we'll take care of them when they do. So last, I'll just wrap up with having all these wonderful business leaders and business developers in a room together. I want to talk very briefly about our work-based learning program at Penfield High School. It's in its 2nd year, and so we're still slowly getting off the ground. But work-based learning is extended to the classroom to direct worksite experiences. Students get to apply skills learned in class to actual real-work situations. They get students out of the classroom into the real world. It's not just for students interested in business. It's not just for students taking our business classes, but anybody can be involved in work-based learning. What it does is that students can actually earn credit towards graduation by working, mentoring, or being an intern. They develop career skills, they can get college and career goals clarified, and of course they strengthen their resumes. So this is where we got here 2 years ago. We started looking at career technical education, and we hired a work-based learning coordinator. It's a business teacher who also has a special degree in work-based learning. We gathered evidence from surrounding schools that use work-based learning. Not many of them do. We surveyed students to find out what their interests were, and then we started developing programs for this year and hopefully beyond. What does it look like? Work-based learning comes in 3 different formats. It comes in work study, career exploration, internship program, and co-op. And so if you could think about maybe how you could partner with us and bring in some of our high school students, work study is a good example. This is for a student who already has a part-time job, they're already working somewhere in the community, and they're interested in earning credit. And so this focus is really career awareness and transferable skills. They have to complete about 150 hours of work in one semester, and then they meet once every 5 days with the classroom teacher to talk about how their part-time job in the community is helping them for college, for career, and how they can use those skills elsewhere. I think about if you work at a grocery store, you might be in customer service, how you can apply those skills to so much more. Before I was a superintendent, long before I went into education, I've worked in 4 pizza places in 3 different states. And I will tell you that delivering pizzas, taking phone orders, and working with customers helped me be a better teacher. If you can understand and work with our kids on how what they're doing in a part-time job, not their forever job, can actually be applied elsewhere. So you talk about when I get an angry parent phone call, I've dealt with it because I've delivered some really bad pizzas before and had to explain my way through it. And so that's really part of our process. That's work study. Internship, this is where a student wants to explore potential careers within the community. And it's really about exploring their careers. So they have to work at least 54 hours per semester at an approved work site with an approved mentor. So if a student wanted to go into the financial world, working maybe at a bank or working at a company that does investments, and they would then have a mentor there that could help them out. This is where you see my sales pitch for having all these business folks in a room. And then the student meets once every 5 days with a classroom teacher for instruction on how that could be applied to their career exploration. And finally, co-op, and this is a student is career focused, has been taking classes related to the career. This is mainly our juniors and seniors who say they want to develop specific career skills. And same thing, they work about 150 hours per semester at an approved work site. They meet once a week for their instruction, and then they also have to be enrolled in a class that's tied to that. So a business class, their technology class. So just 3 quick examples. Student A, if you have a student, she works part-time at Wegmans, wants school credit for the hours worked, wants to learn how those skills transfer from a part-time job into other college and careers, that would be a work study student. Emma wants to be a teacher or an attorney, not sure which, wants to learn more about both careers to help her decide, and so she works as an intern in a school, works as an intern in a law office, and that would be considered an internship, and she would earn high school credit. And then another example, Jordan, he wants to work for NASA. He's going to be completing Project Lead the Way, which is a very rigorous program connected to RIT that we offer at our high school. He's enrolled in a technology course next semester. He wants a real-world project experience, and he would work with somebody within that field to learn, and that's considered a co-op. So that's our work study program. Our next steps is to continue to build relationships with potential mentors and work site in the community. And then we do have to get approved through New York State Education Department. So everything we do has to be approved through New York State Education Department, and we're in that process now. We're looking forward to be approved this year. So that's our next steps. Think about that. You don't have to give me an answer now. You can find my information on the website as a public employee. You can ask for my card. If you have any interest in being connected to some of our incredible high school students through work-based learning, please reach out and I can put you in contact with our work-based learning coordinator and our high school principal. That is all I have, unless there's any questions. Yeah?
How does that affect the Regents diploma?
The work-based learning has no effect. The question is, how does it affect the Regents diploma? It has no effect on the Regents diploma. It would be a credit. They'd be considered elective credit. So the students in any of those programs would still have to take all of the New York State required courses towards their Regents diploma. But then this would be they also have to take X number of elective credits, and this would be considered an elective credit. So for a student who is working or really interested in working, instead of having them sit through an elective that they're doing just to get the credit, they could actually use their outside work experience or working with a mentor in an internship and earn credit that way. It's kind of exciting. Absolutely. All right, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. Oh, okay.
This might be for the town too. So with Penfield Little League now winning the next 2 years contract for, is it the majors? Am I ruining Jim's? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Once you start talking about Little League, I go, that's a great question for Tony and Jim.
A turf baseball diamond at the high school, because we don't have those turf facilities. So I know the baseball teams are going off. Is that in the plans in the future at all?
Okay, so that's a great question, which is when are we getting the turf baseball diamond? I will tell you, this is a great time where I get to say Title IX, which is an incredible federal law. And for Title IX, just so you know, is I can never build a baseball turf field unless I build a softball turf field, because you have to do the same for female sports and male sports. So we have looked actually at the cost, because one of our neighboring districts does have a turf baseball and softball field, and you're looking at a couple $1 million. So I would tell you that it is not in the works right now, but the fact that I know those answers means that we have been looking into possibilities down the road. Absolutely.
Tom Lozano's, he pulled some money, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next up is our world famous town supervisor, Tony LaFountain. Round of applause, please.
Good afternoon. Oh, really? Really? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, just, we've had a great lunch, and we're just sitting back and enjoying things. Just want to make sure that for this next presentation, everybody is with us, and we're ready to go. All right, David, thank you, as always. So before I get started, and I'd be very remiss if I didn't do this. We have a fabulous staff at the town of Penfield, and I don't get an opportunity to brag about them as much as I would like, because it's typically on a one-on-one basis. But when I have a group like this, I really think it's important for me to just give a shout out. We have 120 full-time, part-time individuals that work for the town that are probably the best you'll find in Monroe County and the surrounding area. And so you're going to be hearing from Jim Costello in a couple of minutes, because he and I do a tag team here overall, and a lot of you know Jim, just a fantastic asset to the community. Jim and I go back approximately 40 years, so we've known each other, and that's what gives us that benefit to do the tag team on this. We have two others today. We have Brian Delameter and Dave Renner, and these are the individuals that you normally don't see on a regular basis because they're in the basement of the town hall. They're the ones that run the website, they're the ones that run PCTV, and two individuals, great assets to the town of Penfield. So thank you guys, thank you. Okay. This is the agenda we're going to go down through here. We're going to hit a number of these, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just spend a couple of minutes with you, and then we'll be available for Q&A at the end. But I think it's important because one of the things that we've done over the years is to talk about economic development, talk about business, and Jim and I would do two different sessions, and last year we combined them, and Jim really is the person that I look to keep the finger on the pulse, not only for attracting new business, but also then in turn retaining. And some of those businesses that do turn over, hopefully they turn over for a good reason. They've outgrown their space, they need some other space, and Jim is a person that keeps track of what's available and what part of our business districts that we could add some key businesses to help our overall community. So we'll run down through here. The first thing that I get to do is all the exciting things, talk a little bit about the financials, and just to give you a quick overview. Currently, our budget for this year is $19.1 million. In 2019, we adopted the budget mid-October. That will be $20.1 million. We're going up approximately 8 cents. The reason for that, the primary driver for that is that we had the opportunity to acquire the Shadow Pines property. When we went into that and went out to a vote, we estimated based on the rates and based on the cost of the property that we were going to add approximately 10 to 12 cents. And that was part of our communications to the community that if passed, it would add approximately 10 to 12 cents to the overall tax rate. Based on some interest rates being very favorable, based on the fact that we were able to acquire the Clark House as a separate piece of property and not having to bond that, helped lower those costs. And so that resulted in an approximate 8 cents. Everything else will remain the same for 2019. All the services are the same. We'll be meeting the needs in all areas of government overall. And that added cost will be for the Shadow Pines piece. And I think it was I'd like to recognize our entire team for the work that they did, especially our town board. I know Linda Cole's here with us. Oh, there's Linda. I saw Linda over there earlier, so apologize, Linda, who helped shepherd us through that process. It was a great acquisition for the town. It'll be something that really will benefit the town for many, many years to come. As we take a look, we are fifth lowest tax rate in the county, and that is something that we're very proud of, considering all the services that we provide and all the work that our employees put out there. We did meet state tax cap requirements. That's always something that, from a school district standpoint and from a town standpoint, we always have that little chip on our shoulder here that we're looking at. How do we make sure that we're doing the right things, managing the tax dollar, and staying under the tax cap? That's very, very important and something that we work very hard to make sure that we do that. We have no designation. This is a fiscal monitoring that the state does for communities, and we're one of the lowest in the state. In fact, we had a small number. That number got reduced from last year to this year, and so we're very proud of that. That also feeds into our credit rating and the money that we're able to to go out and borrow, and what that principal might be on that money overall. And again, we remain at a AA1. That is one of the highest in Monroe County and one of the best across the state overall. So we're going to talk a little bit about accomplishments. I'm going to talk about one in particular, a little bit more deeper dive than I did speak about earlier, and that is the acquisition of the former Shadow Pines Golf Course. This is a piece of property within the community that is a beautiful piece. Hopefully some of you have had the opportunity, since we've opened the former front nine of that, to get out, to walk around, to enjoy that. Over the next week or two, we'll start to do work on the former back nine of that. Once we get all of our winter chores in place, snow fence up. I know that's a nasty four-letter word, but we need to get our snow fence up. We need to get all of our trucks and equipment ready to go. And it sounds like as early as this weekend, we could start to see some of that white stuff falling overall. And we'll work for November and December. Our goal is by end of year to look to have the back nine open again for hiking and also for cross-country skiing, sledding, snowshoeing, and things like that overall. A great acquisition, and we're just delighted that that's part of the overall part of our community holdings now. The Clark House itself, we're currently working on a solicitation of interest that we'll be sending out to the community and to get an idea of how we could use that particular facility. So that's approximately 6 acres. It has 3 buildings on that site. It's the Clark House, it's the former Cart House, and then across the street, the barn. And so we'll be working to look here over the next couple of months as to what might be appropriate setting for that particular area overall. We currently have a working group made up of town residents, and we've charged that group to take a look at the entire property and to come back with recommendations to the town board by the end of the first quarter as to what we might be able to do for the property overall. So I have a plug for next Tuesday. We have a public information meeting. That public information meeting will have all of the committee members there as well as town staff. Andy Moore from our town board will moderate that. But it's an opportunity to give feedback and input to the committee as to what that property should look like as we move forward. You know, should it be used for solely walking trails? Should we allow bikes in that park? Should it have any type of buildings, facilities, whether that be pavilions or any other type of facilities? And so we're looking for all of that input and feedback. And then the committee will take all of that, pull that together, and then come back with recommendations to the town board as to how we move forward with the rest of that property. So with that, I think what I want to do now is I want to recognize once again Jim Costello, Business Development Director. Many of you probably know Jim. If you don't, I would encourage you to take a minute to get to know Jim. A wealth of knowledge within our community, a great resource, especially from a business standpoint. And with that, Mr. Costello. There you go.
Tony's very modest. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming today. It's a pleasure to be here again with you, as always. You are a great partner to both the town of Penfield and to myself. I do a lot with you on a regular basis, and I encourage every new applicant that comes in before us to join the chamber. I let them know what an important thing it is in Penfield to be a member of the chamber. Julie knows that. I was pushing that real hard for her when she first came, and I do that for every new applicant. So it truly is a great partnership, and you're a great network for your members. I wanted to also thank Tony LaFountain. He actually hired me 40 years ago, so I owe him that. He always tells me how old I am, but I keep letting him know that he actually hired me and had been here 5 years before I was. So we are actually the same age, though, so I do appreciate it. He always talks about he doesn't have enough time to compliment the staff, but he always makes the time to do that, and the staff is very appreciative of it. Why don't we get into what's been happening in Penfield over the last year or so. It's been a busy year. I got a little nervous because Jen mentioned that she might want to do this earlier in the year, and I didn't have a lot to talk about until very recently, but we did have a busy year this year. I want to start in on the mixed-use district. The mixed-use district was approved by the town board back in 2017. There had been a couple people that had been working with the town over the last several years to develop plans for the mixed-use district, and were instrumental in the process as we went along to develop the district and develop the ordinances for it. I mean, actually, one of them is here right now. Is Ralph DeTucci, sitting in the audience, who's been a partner with the town now for several years. And Ralph's got a project going on. Just to give you an outline of the district really starts right about where the YMCA is to the south, and then heads northward to Atlantic Avenue, and then beyond that to Penfield Center Road on both sides of Route 250. You get it? Yeah. All right. The district really allows for numerous things. The intent of the district really was recognizing that we did not have a lot of commercial space in Penfield. We had to do something to provide some commercial activity along with residential. There's a lot of infill areas now, but you can't really throw a big box development anywhere in an infill area at this point in time without affecting the neighbors around it. This district really a mixed-use district which allows for multiple types of residential uses, multiple types of commercial uses, and provides for some tax base on the commercial district. I don't know what we go here. This is the first project we received, and this was Wickham Farms. Wickham Farms is relocating from their current location on Route 250 to Sweet Corners Road. And many of you have probably seen some of the activity taking place already. Excuse me, already. They have built a new parking lot. They've relocated some of their facilities, not all of them yet, but they will be doing that over the next several months. They will probably be closed over the winter months and then open up again next summer, and relocate that facility so that they can now sell the property off. And you can't see it very well, but this is a new project called Penfield Square. It's going to take over the existing project that's at the current site where Wickham's is now. It's going to be 113 units combined with about 3,000 square feet of commercial activity. There's going to be about 70 independent units, 40 assisted units, and 30 memory care units, all on that site. It complies with all the mixed-use requirements for walkability. There's no drive-through activity on that site. It's pretty much going to be just residential and complementary type commercial development. You have the one that Ralph is working on right now called Penfield Crossings. Ralph has been before the planning board now for several months working with them to massage the plan. The plan now is located on the northwest corner of Route 250 and Atlantic Avenue, and also a portion of it on the east side of Route 250 across the street from the northwest corner. It envelops about 73 acres plus or minus. There's also, it has numerous types of development, commercial use and residential use. I think it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 units. Also with multiple residential. And he's got mixed-use development for upstairs apartments and downstairs commercial. This is before the planning board now. I anticipate you'll probably be going to the planning board for preliminary and final approval for the first phases sometime in the next several months, and then moving forward with the project after that. We had a couple of grand openings here with the PBC. We joined in with Jen and opened up recently the Secret Ingredient Cupcake Shop up on Empire Boulevard and Terrell Drive, owned by Rachel Roberts, another person I strongly encouraged to become a member. I think she did.
Not yet, we're working.
Oh, she has. You haven't gotten her yet, huh?
Been busy.
Okay, well, she'll get there for you, I'm sure. If you haven't been there, go and get a cupcake. It's well worth it. The Schutz Apple Mill added 1,800 square feet onto its building. It's become quite an enterprise now that Evan Schutz has taken over from his dad. I don't know if you've been out there to see it yet, but it's really quite an improvement to what was there. And I think they need a little bit more parking than they have, but other than that, it's only for a couple months out of the year. The rest of the time, it's not a problem. We had the Oak and Apple Cidery. I don't know if anybody's been up there to see that yet.
They closed already.
They
ran out of
did.
stuff.
They were so successful, they ran out of cider. It was their first year. They owned 27 acres. They bought the property a couple of years ago. They built a 2,400 square foot cider house and tasting room. And it's quite attractive. It's got one of the best views in the entire county up there. If you get a chance, maybe next year on the 4th of July, if they're open, go up there, taste some cider, and watch the fireworks. But it's owned by the Kraft family, and they're very proud of it. We have Julie Grogan with us today. I put this in. I didn't know you were going to be here, but I'm glad you are. Julie opened up her massage therapy and spa at 1742 Penfield Road earlier this year. We had the opportunity to go together to the grand opening, which was very nice. And you wonder why I put that in there. I put it in there because I did the same thing across the street. This is the Panorama Oral Surgery building that was just built. Dr. Smith relocated out of the Panorama Trail and came up to the old Simonetti property right next to the park. I did that because these two properties, Julie put a lot of money into that property to upgrade it and meet her needs for the business, as did Matt. And that is pretty much the gateway as you come into the Four Corners, and they're doing everything they can to improve that gateway. So I thought it deserved the recognition. And welcome. Excuse me. Dr. Merkley, who currently operates on 5 Mile Line Road, is building a new building on the corner of Liberty Street and 5 Mile Line next to Mark's Pizzeria in that area down there. It's a 5,300 square foot building. It's a one-story building, but the basement is also being utilized as a laboratory for his business. And I anticipate he should be almost open by the first of the year, shortly thereafter. This is one for my friends and family first, who I know come every year and are here. Thank you. This is the old Valio gas station on the corner of Browncroft and Blossom. It was purchased recently, and it's going to be Carm's Pizzeria. Carm's the son of Cam's Pizzeria. So, in any event, it's supposedly a new operation. They are moving along glacially, but they're moving along. I'm hoping their pizzas are made faster than their opening is. But they should be open in the next month or so. They are working there on a consistent basis, and they've actually had several workers in there during this last week or so. They still need to build an outdoor cooler area, walk-in cooler, and that's the last remaining feature before they can actually open. One of the things I'm the proudest of, and I know Ron Brody's here, Ron and Joyce, they have been a partner of mine for several years, trying to get the Four Corners parking lot redeveloped and rebuilt. And thanks to the efforts of the town attorney and town supervisor and board, and recommendations from the people who work in that area, we were able to this last year, be able to rebuild that parking lot. It was just a patchwork of parking spaces that didn't fit properly anywhere. We were able to coordinate the parking and create 74 parking spaces in that area. And it's just a much more functional operation. I think it really helps the businesses a lot with that new parking facility.
You did a great job with that. That's
Thank
a huge
you.
improvement.
Yeah, it really was. And I got to get a pat on the back to Eric Tate and his crew over at the Highway Department. They did a great job. They had it done in like a day and a half, so it was really amazing. The town was able to host the Homerama again this year. We were very happy about that. We are great partners with the Rochester Home Builders Association. They built 6 homes on that site. They had a great turnout. Weather wasn't the best, as it normally isn't, but they did have a great turnout, and it's always a great opportunity to show off Penfield whenever you can. And now what's proposed for 2019. You can see driving by Penfield Road over by Wegmans, there's a new building being built. This building was actually approved 3 or 4 years ago. We need another dentist office. For all you dentists, we need one more dentist office in town. I don't get it. Everybody in Penfield has beautiful teeth. I don't understand what the need is, but it's obviously a place. Actually, as Tom says, there is a need for them because you get a lot of families coming with children, and children need dentists. So Dr. Ugia, a couple years ago, got her property approved. It's a 2,400 square foot building. That area along Penfield Road was rezoned by the town board several years ago to business non-retail. We've had a lot of interest in properties along there. You can see other things have been built further to the east, the Urgent Care Center and a couple of others. Dr. Ugia will open up next year and provide services to the students of Penfield. This is interesting. Daisy Flour Mill is closing, has been closed for a while. It's going to be sold, and I've had 2 gentlemen come to see me about the possibility of buying it. They would like to convert it into a microbrewery and a restaurant to be open to the public on a regular basis. They've signed a contract to do a 90-day due diligence study. They're in the process of doing that right now. One issue that I've got to work out with them is, if any of you have been to the Daisy Flour Mill, there was a conveyor system from the bottom to the top of the building for old wheat, the wheat processing. They would like to move 2 of the 4 units out of that area so they can use it for brewing purposes. And I've contacted the State Office of Historic Preservation, who's very concerned about doing that. It's a National Registry building. So we're wrestling with that issue, and that's going to have to be resolved before they purchase the property. But it could be kind of a nice operation because it does open that building up to the general public again. It's kind of been a catering type, special events type property for the last several years. This is a brand new one. The town board just recently approved an animal hospital on Empire Boulevard, 1467. Many of you might remember it as there was a beat up old house that was sitting on the north side of Empire Boulevard with a lot of trees in front of it. That has since been demolished, and now Dr. Boehm from Laurelton Bayview Animal Hospital is going to build a new building sometime in the spring. It's about 4,600 square feet. This is an interesting project. John Summers has recently purchased, we talked a little bit about this last year because I had this slide on last year, but in the last year he's actually purchased about 46 acres of land, 22 acres from Thermo Fisher. He purchased the old hotel site, the Del Monte property, which runs up along 441, and the old Camp Hakamo site, and combined all the properties into one parcel. His intent is to develop a Linden Oaks type effect out there with several office buildings. He looked at multiple types of uses. He's decided now that he'd like to replicate Linden Oaks if he could, so he's going to start working on that project. They have actually cut a road up for viewing the site and for marketing purposes. And his intent is to come into the board at some point in time in next year and come in with a new plan. So we'll keep you posted on that one. As Jen mentioned earlier, the Penfield Little League, this is really important. Awesome. This is an awesome situation for the town of Penfield and all of the vendors in the town of Penfield. They're going to host the state tournament for 3 straight years. That is going to make an amazing impact to Penfield business-wise, between restaurants, hotels, entertainment. It's going to be an amazing, amazing process for this town. I hope that you can work with Little League to coordinate with them on various things. Okay.
Already on it.
Excellent. That's going to be a real feather in our cap. And some of the most visible sites that we've talked about over the years, again, the site down across from Panorama Plaza, the old Classy Chassis site. That site has been cleaned to the satisfaction of the New York State DEC. They just have not signed off yet on the final approval of that site. As soon as that's done, there is an intent to build a small office building on that site. It's been approved by the planning board. We're just waiting for the DEC to go ahead and finalize that approval. Again, we've got a problem with the Browncroft and Blossom area. That's perennial. I've been working with Lehigh Gas to try and solve this problem. I'm getting a lot of resistance from one of their local managers here, property managers here, but I'm going to Lehigh, Pennsylvania to get this resolved directly. So hopefully we won't be looking at this again next year if I can help it. And then the one that we see every day is the former Grossman site. There's a lot of interest in the Grossman site. It's a 5-acre parcel. There's 15 acres behind it, excuse me, that are owned by the Wickham family. And Mrs. Wickham likes to live on that site and doesn't want to leave for the time being. So there's been a little bit of a wrestling issue going on here because people are interested in both the Wickham property and the Grossman site. And right now we're trying to wrestle as to how they can get access to both of them versus just one. So you may see that sitting there for a little while longer, but there is a lot of interest in the property.
Who takes care of the maintenance on that?
Well, that's right now we are working. John Stone, who's the owner, is still the owner of the property. So we're trying to work with him to get, I'd like to get the stuff off the windows and that kind of thing and get it cleaned up a little
Or at
bit,
least
cut the
mow it
grass.
or chop it down, right?
Cabot Group is actually the property manager. I've talked to them about it, but they haven't responded yet to the way I want them to. And then we lost a couple of places, and just recently we lost Itakade.
They're coming back.
I know, but they're not back yet. And I'm not sure they're coming back to the same spot yet. So I know they do want to come back in a different format. And last week we just lost Napa Wood-Fired Pizzeria at Baytown. I was at Baytown on Friday night and the place was booming. Every seat was filled, and on Sunday they closed. So I can't tell you why or how, but it did happen. So not everything's a success, but I do know that DeMarco's are looking feverishly to replace that, and I know they have a tenant in line to do that. So you should see something else happening there fairly quickly. And as Tony mentioned earlier, I'll just jump down real quickly, Shadow Pines. The Shadow Pines Committee was formed back in September, and they've been working diligently since then to prepare recommendations to the town board for what should be done at Shadow Pines. We do have that meeting coming up on November 13th. If there's any interest whatsoever, please attend. If not, you can go online. Dave Renner out in the back has created a web portal to go to. If you want to provide some type of recommendations to the town, you can go into the website at www.penfield.org and then put in your recommendations on the website to him. And then we are also working on our comprehensive plan update. It's due to be done by the end of 2019. That committee was also formed in September, and they've been working hard to get everything wrapped up for the town board for recommendations for that 2020 update. And then finally, Chris Bilo over at the Recreation Department has got a committee working on our 5-year Recreation Master Plan update. We do that every 5 years, and in the process of wrapping that up right now. So by the end of the year, I'm hoping that they'll have all the recommendations in place for the town board to review. And that is all I have. Any questions? I hope there are some. Yes? No, he asked if anything's going on with Miss Rita's daycare center over on Old Broncroft Boulevard and Parkview Drive. Haven't heard anything yet. There's some issues with the building that have to be resolved. And nobody's shown any interest at this point in time, to me anyways, to take over that building. It could go back as a daycare, but nobody has come to me saying that they'd like to take it over. That's a good question because it is in a residential zoning district. There are certain things you can do in a residential zone other than single-family residence. Daycare is one of them. Churches are another type of thing you could do. I don't know what's going to happen there. It could be converted back into a larger single-family residence as well. I'm not certain that's going to happen, though, just because of its location and, you know. Anything else? That was easy. Too easy. Thank you very much.